addiction is just such a wild thing. You know you need help, and you know like you're literally dying. And even when I could hear the firefighters at my door, I wouldn't let them in.
Welcome back to the Hopeaholics Podcast. I'm your girl, Natalie Eva Marie.
And I'm Chad Carlson, and you're listening to the #1 addiction and mental health podcast.
And you guys, if you or a loved one is struggling, make sure you head to askevamarie.com or chaddick.com and chat with one of our AI companions 24/7.
Or text the number right here on the screen.
Together, we are breaking the stigma around addiction and mental health.
And fighting the fentanyl epidemic.
Now, let's get into the episode.
Ashleigh, welcome to the Hopeaholics Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Excited.
Yeah, I am as well.
Where'd you grow up?
I am from Riverside, so not too far from here. I always say it's the land of like the kickbacks and the like text message parties, and that's really all there was to do out there.
I grew up in a little city just past Riverside called Grand Terrace.
Yep.
You heard of it?
Of course.
Yeah. That's where I grew up.
Yeah.
So you're from the IE.
I was just going to say the IE.
Yes.
Do you ever like throw up your IE sign or anything like that, or?
Maybe when I was drunk. I try not to anymore.
I still like to throw it up out here in South Orange County because, like, you know, it's just a different place to grow up. It's then like this is sheltered. The people that live right here in South Orange County that grow up right here, it's pretty sheltered. I mean, don't get me wrong. There is a shit ton of drugs out here, but there's a lot more to do during the day. You can go to the beach. You can go surfing. If you grow up around here, a lot to do.
Yeah, keep your mind busy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're not sucked into all that.
In the Inland Empire, drinking and drugs for me.
Yes. Well, I will say my drinking wasn't that bad when I was still living out there.
Oh.
I mean, I feel like I drank for the first time at 15. It was Pepsi and Smirnoff. I wish I didn't remember that.
Does that mean that you never drank Pepsi and Smirnoff again?
Well, maybe. I don't know.
Because
When
I
you're in
never
that
drank.
desperate point.
I never drank orange juice and vodka ever again, and that was the first time I got drunk.
Ooh, yeah.
Because I threw up for like the whole night.
Ugh.
Yeah. No, it was bad. But yeah, I grew up out there, had a pretty normal childhood. I was in GATE in elementary school, and I always see memes about like all the GATE kids, like, how's your ADHD now? How's your ADD?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that couldn't be more on point. I was in cheer as a kid, like just grew up normal. I had both my parents in the house. My grandparents lived with us. They pretty much were the ones that were around since both my parents worked. So they definitely helped raise my sister and I. Yeah, everything, anytime I try to really go back to those times, everything was pretty normal. Definitely started at 15. That night was just like a little kickback at a friend's, stayed the night. My best friend went home and was just sick all over the place, got us all in trouble. And I was like, you didn't stay the night. That's where you messed up.
Yeah.
And we had my little sister's birthday party the next day. And so both of our parents were there and they're talking. And my friend and I are just so hungover. And we're just like filled with all that anxiety for the first time and that hangover. And I was just like, no, we had too much fun. We got to do this again. Like, it's just, that's when it gets you. And continued to just drink like a normal high school kid.
Did you feel normal before that though? Like, I mean, I had a pretty normal childhood, but just me personally. And I'm just asking you this just because not everybody's exactly the same, but did you always feel normal and feel okay in your skin?
My height played a big part in it. I definitely was made fun of. I was always taller than the boys. It was one of those things that it was like I wasn't an outcast. I wasn't popular, but I wasn't a complete outcast. I was kind of right in that middle area. So definitely had, some some insecurities around that. As I got into high school, it actually got better. I started off in cheer. My boyfriend was 6'5", so that helped kind of take that fear away from it. But yeah, nothing really that I can, pinpoint back to those days of feeling really insecure about anything.
Nice.
I think what really kind of started the whole downwards spiral was my parents got divorced when I was 18. So I was right on that line of like, you're an adult, but like I'm still your kid. And I feel like I just found out about too many things that I didn't need to know about. I had to grow up really quickly. Once my dad moved out, then my grandparents moved out because they were his parents. So that in itself just kind of took away that comfort for me and just what I was used to growing up with. And living with just my mom and my sister, my mom's amazing. She always held it down for my sister and I. My dad was still in the picture, but it was hard because our relationship was really skewed after that. And I grew up really close with my dad. So just the mix of all of that, I just never wanted to be home. And I feel like that's when I've worked since I was 16. So I was always busy with work, but the going out definitely started to amp up after that. Still really just drinking. I never got into weed. I feel like my friends would always, hotbox the car in high school. And I was like, you guys are disgusting. I hate the smell of this. And it's just funny that out of all of them, I'm the one that ended up doing all the hard stuff. But yeah, it's just so ironic. So yeah, it just kind of continued with the going out. I just felt really lost. I was already 18. I didn't know what to do with my life. I had to quit cheer my senior year because my grades were starting to suffer. I almost didn't graduate. We kind of swooped in and saved it at the last minute. But then it was kind of like, okay, I don't really want to go to college. I don't know what I'm doing, so I don't really want to waste my time doing that. So I just enrolled in a community college just because I thought that's what I had to do. But I was lost and I just had no direction. I feel like I tried a couple different things and I started in the service industry pretty early as a server, hostess, a server. So it was just that natural progression. And I started to get through just like my early 20s and I was going out to LA a lot because I like to drink and there wasn't much to do in Riverside. You can only go to the same few bars in downtown so many times. And most of them I had already burnt going with my fake ID. So it's like, all right, we gotta find some new territory now. And that's when things really started to fire up. I started going out there and did the typical party girl club scene. This was 2015. So it was like a lot of the good spots were still open. And I had a promoter friend that was actually cool to my friends and I. He wasn't like a creep. So we would get in places and not have to, do much to have a good time and always get taken care of out there. And I was like, wow, this is where I want to be. I want to be in LA. And it was just a matter of time. I was out in West Hollywood one night and met someone that we just were all talking, and he said that his friend was opening up a new restaurant and bar in West Hollywood and needed bartenders. And I had just started bartending at a spot back home. And so in my head, I was like, this is my golden ticket right here. This is it. It's happening. My dreams are coming true. And my mom always says, it was like, I had that conversation the night, and the next day I was packed and ready to go. Like there was just no hesitation in that. And I had already kind of had this reputation of like being the one that was always falling asleep and always blacking out and always kind of, the Smashly persona didn't come in until a little bit later, but that was kind of where my drinking was at in that point. And so I get this, dream job at the time. Simultaneously, the same night that I met the person that helped me get that job, I met this other guy, and it was one of those Hollywood nights, my friends and I went back to his mansion in the hills and walk into his living room, and there's just a mound of cocaine and a mound of Molly on the table. And I feel like that was my flipping point. That was the first time I'd tried any of that. And it just became this, that you get that feeling and you're just like, you're in this mansion, you're doing all these things, and it's like, this is the life that, I want. I'm early 20s, let's go. And it just kind of ramped up from there. It got so bad to the point when I was hanging out with this person that I almost lost that job. And I realized then I could have ruined, that whole LA experience that I wanted. So I kind of pulled back the reins a little bit. But, it already had its claws in me. So it was just, as soon as I started working there and bartending there, it was a constant party. And just every single night we're going in and drinking, and you're working in this hot spot and you're just so immersed in that. And every day it was like drink, sleep all day, drink again so you can get back to work, and just became this constant cycle. And that was pretty much the first 3 years that I was out there. And things happened in that time. That's where the toxic relationship that I was in on and off for 9 years started. And I don't want to reference that as much, but it's such a big part of my story. It will, kind of keep circling back around to that. Basically, in that time, it was, it's so hard sometimes to really piece all this stuff back together.
Oh, good.
Yeah, there's like those significant moments that stand out, but I will say one of the more significant things that happened that time. So I never got DUIs, thankfully. That was never part of my story. But while working at this bar, I did have a day. We had like a training at work, drove to work. I always parked my car in this one parking garage across the street. I left, came back, went to work that night, drank the whole shift. And in that process, I had moved my car from where I normally park. And I was so trashed at the end of the night. I walk out to the parking garage and I'm like, dude, where is my car? Like, I literally did not remember.
That's from a movie. I just want to, what she just said is from a movie. It's actually the title of a movie.
I know it is.
Dude, where's my car?
What places did you work? Out of curiosity.
Why, were you in there?
I was up in that motherfucking scene too.
Not in 2015.
No, 2015 I walked, but prior to that, so
like 2011?
11 and 12.
11 and 12?
For sure.
Where were you at?
In 2011 and 12.
No.
Oh, this was Toca Madera.
You know it?
Know it.
You do?
Yes, I do. And who was your club promoter that you were friends with? Is he from the IE?
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay. Why, you knew somebody from the IE?
Yes, I did. And he was a club promoter. He was awesome. And he knew everybody.
What was his name?
Eli.
He's
changed his whole entire life.
I know exactly who you're talking about, though.
Yeah, shout out to him.
Yeah.
We used to work in the same playhouse together. The same like little scene that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Very familiar.
See, okay, so you
I
totally
get it.
You
are a Natalie.
Yeah.
You are a Natalie.
I didn't know any of this about her because I didn't hear her story. I just invited her back to hear her story.
I mean, yeah, in that same time too, after Toca, I opened up a spot called Liaison, and it was in the old building that Ledoux was in.
Oh my gosh.
So again, I'm just like living my like younger LA dream.
Yep.
I'm like, this is amazing. It's, killing me, but
yeah.
It's a good time.
But okay, so what happened? So you walk out to your car, you think like, where the fuck's my car? It got stolen?
Yeah, so I reported it stolen.
Awesome.
And I almost hate laughing at the story because my mom, when I called her, she rear-ended a car that day. Like, it was really stressful for her. And I share it in a way because I try to infuse humor into my story.
Yeah, of course.
You kind of have to.
You have to.
And now I try to be like, okay, see, like everything was fine. But I do feel bad about that day. But I did report it stolen. I had a detective on my case.
Wait, you reported it stolen when you were intoxicated?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So 2 weeks went by. 2 weeks and this thing was gone. And the cops had my mom's number as like a backup. And she calls me one day and she's like, they found your car. And I was like, there's no way. Like, it's stolen. It's gone. And as soon as she told me the street that it was on, it was like everything just flooded back. It was parked on the street behind Toca Madera. So when I had left, instead of everyone's like, come back, and everyone was drinking, before work, I went around to where they were at the restaurant and parked on the street behind, and then went to work, got trashed, went out to the car, and I was like, it's not where it normally is. So it had been parked there for 2 weeks, had one ticket on it. So they must have just kept going around and seeing that there was already a ticket. And yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Wolfpack Bags. This gear is meant for anybody gym, lifestyle, to anybody that's on the move. I mean, I like to say that us here and everybody that tunes in, we're not average. We're always a wolf. They have all the goods that you need, especially for anybody that is looking for a bag to carry their meal prep, a lunch pail, anything like that. They have you covered. So once again, go to wolfpack.com, use the code Hopeaholics, save 10%, and join the pack. For 2 weeks, damn. 2 weeks. What? I'm like, wait, the detective's not very good.
Dude,
no.
Where's my car?
Oh my God.
Literally. But what fueled it is not too long before that, someone had left a note on my car, a weird note, and had wanted to buy it. And so as soon as I saw that it was missing, that's what came to my mind. I was like, these people came back and stole my car. But that's just how gone like my mind was at that time too.
So I'm gonna assume that you were pretty much always intoxicated though, because it was work. Well, obviously intoxicated at work as a bartender, home, sleep, some food in between maybe.
Yes. Yeah.
And then start drinking again just to make it back to work.
Yep.
Kind of thing.
We were still in the fun phase.
Yeah.
Before the fun was too many problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was still, early 20s. I could still do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I was bouncing back quick, and I had my first apartment in LA was in the heart of Hollywood in a high rise, living with friends. I had my car. I had this job.
Doing it.
Yes. It was everything, everything I wanted. And
yeah, I get it.
Everything you want when you're 20. Though,
I
mean, that's the life. That's the lie. That what she had was the lie that drugs always told me I was going to get.
Yes.
I didn't ever get that experience because I became a full blown addict at like 14 years old.
Yeah.
And but it kept lying to me and telling me I'd be able to party and go to clubs but I never made it. My clubs were like Club Metro in Riverside. I don't know if you ever heard of that place.
I don't
ever hear of that place?
Of course.
Club
Metro, yes.
And then there was the Australian Beach Club in San Bernardino. I think there was one out here in Orange County too. They all got shut down though for bad shit.
My mom's gonna love that you mentioned Club Metro.
How old's your mom?
She's young.
Like 50?
In her 50s.
Don't.
What? Just wondering if I know her.
No.
It's all. We might have seen each other at
Club. At some point.
We might have seen her each other at Club Metro. In the early 90s.
Oh gosh. Yeah. So it was still dangling that carrot in front of me.
Right. You're in the high rise, you're doing it, you're feeling good, you're at a hot spot and place to be.
Yeah. And I was in this relationship, so things, I wasn't too worried about anything happening to me when I was out. I was never alone. I had a good group of friends at that point. We all partied, but they were good people. And I always say that this was still the fun point because alcohol did give me the things, it let me say yes to things that I wouldn't have normally said yes to. It made me spontaneous. I traveled a lot in this time, which led me to, I did that 3 years at Toca. I broke up with the guy. I was going through this patch and I presented to my roommate. It was like our lease was about to be up. She was going through stuff. I had just gone through a breakup. I am at home and I'm drinking by myself before she comes home from work. And she comes home and I present to her this idea of us moving to Mexico. And I was like, let's get out of LA. Like we had just went to Puerto Vallarta not too long before that. And so in my crazy head, I was like, you know, that was paradise. We can do this. Let's just sell everything and move. And we did. And I sold my car. I quit that job and we left LA and lived in Puerto Vallarta for almost 4 months. It's like, I feel like that was one of my first geographicals.
Sure.
And it was like, why not move to tequila was my poison. That was always my drug of choice. And I still have an agave tattooed on
Wow.
me from a night of too much tequila. So it's like, why not? Let's move to the motherland and just be surrounded by it. And I will say that that was actually a pretty peaceful time for what it was. My roommate, you know, she liked to drink, but she wasn't like me. So I feel like she kind of kept me under control at that point. So we would drink, we would have fun, but I feel like I definitely kind of did a reset on my life at that point. But then the money runs out and, you know, there's no way for us to work down in Mexico. So we end up coming back to LA and I'm just even more lost than I was before. It's like, okay, now we're out of fantasy land. Now it's back to figuring this thing out. And I did get another job and I was starting to build a career. I was working my way up in the industry and I was like, wow, this feels good because I feel like I finally have some purpose. And I was good at it. Like I finally found that thing that I was really good at and I enjoyed and I loved being behind the bar and I loved the mixology aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I loved catering to people and creating this work of art. And I ended up working my way up to management and consulting. And I was like, okay, like, you know, this is it. But the more freedom I had in my job and being around it and, you know, managing, I'm the one doing the ordering. So I'm making deals with, you know, my liquor vendors. I'm spending my whole shift in the inventory room doing inventory and I'm drinking half the inventory. So I'm starting over and it's just like it gave me too much freedom into that. And so it's like I'm watching, you know, myself start to rise, but then the alcohol would always bring me right back down. And let's see. During that time, I did keep going back and forth to that relationship. But there was a period that I was single. I was taken advantage of one night and while I was out, and that definitely changed me. And that started to add to the shame. And honestly, another reason why I feel like I got back into that relationship, because I was like, there's some sort of safety in this, even though, you know, we're fighting all the time and he has his own substance issues and all this. But like, there's that little bit of safety. And so it kept me just coming back to that. But still just drowning in shame from everything. And I feel like I continued on that path and just kind of slowly circled. I would kind of hop around to jobs. I would quit before I got fired because there were a couple places that, you know, the drinking did catch up. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to go find something else before I have to deal with getting fired. But then that started the spiral of not being able to pay my bills because I'm not working and the drinking is just getting worse. And cocaine plays a huge part in my story as well. I never really got into, I was a party girl, you know, Coke is so big in the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a given.
Yeah.
You have to maintain that lifestyle. And I will say that photo booth I took in Madera probably saw a lot.
For sure.
There's a reason they took it out, probably.
I guarantee you. There's probably a ton of
why
people
did it
that
have a curtain on it?
It was a full door. So
Oh.
like,
Yeah.
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
there's a sort of debauchery is going up in
Yeah.
that bitch.
Like it's like that's a photo booth you really
Yeah.
don't want to
No
go
one
in
should
and be on. Be
Like,
on.
sitting in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot that I could say about that too. But we were always having fun. It was always a good time with that. But yeah, did the rave scene, did a lot of Molly, I loved shrooms. Shrooms was like my one thing where I never really had too much of a bad experience with. surprisingly, because I feel like my mind was in such a dark place, I'm really shocked that never did me too dirty. But cocaine was always around. And again, going back to, my friends smoking weed, I was like, I'm never going to do drugs. That's never going to be me. And I started to get to that point where the coke wasn't fun anymore. And I just felt so dark and dirty. Like, it just makes you feel like, especially when you would do it on like a mirror tray and you have to look at yourself in the mirror, and it's just like, who is that? Who's doing this? But then it's like, okay, give me more. And I feel like that's when I never really felt like I had an addiction to that. It definitely just went hand in hand with alcohol. The alcohol was my king. That was God. That was everything. And life just started to get unmanageable. I was, irritable, discontent. Things just weren't going my way. At this point, I had moved around LA and moved jobs and done all this. And I ended up living in downtown, and I moved into this apartment. It was right next door to the Cecil Hotel, like literally the building next door. And that already holds a really dark energy.
Fuck yeah, it does.
I would not even walk on that side of the sidewalk. I would cross the street, go down, and come back. And so at this point, so this was 2023. So this was a solid 8 years in LA of just that constant party.
Doing it.
Yeah. And then that brief little vacation in Mexico.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2023. So I move into this place, and I'm just already in darkness. Like, it's now that this was starting to get to the point where, like, I loved having after parties at my place because I just loved being home. But then that brings in so much dark energy along with that too. And this place just already had this darkness to it. And so I would always have, people over, and I was at a point in my drinking. So the last bartending job I had, a typical day, I would wake up, pray that I had some kind of alcohol in the house still. If I didn't, that was like the biggest accomplishment in my day, was getting dressed enough to go down to CVS, buy those huge bottles of wine, and just honestly, sometimes I would open it before I even got back to the house and get enough in me just to be able to get dressed and ready for work. Always go to work with some kind of buzz. I had some kind of Gatorade as like my road soda, putting the wine in there because I felt like the wine didn't smell. And just always having a couple bottles of that on me at work. It justified in my mind that I was drinking my own alcohol and not stealing from the people that I worked for. And I would have just enough to get me through my shift. I would leave work to go across the street to CVS to get another little bottle of wine, just to take an Uber to get to the train station to buy something else that was right there, take the train home, and then just lock myself in my apartment and just drink the rest of the night. And at that point, that's where it had already progressed from, I only drink high-end tequila and I only drink, the nice stuff. It's at this point I'm getting whatever I can afford. And that's when you start to know too that things are getting really bad. And I know at one point, right before the end, I was going through at least 2 bottles I would always get the Trader Joe's rum because it was like $8. And I'm like, it's Trader Joe's, it's good quality. Like, this is fine. And I'm going through 2 of those bottles by myself a night. And that's not even if I was going out after, if I was doing anything else, like that was my norm. And I remember I knew things were dark and looking bad. And I remember looking in the mirror, and like when you're in that state, you're not taking the best care of yourself. I wasn't brushing my teeth every night. My gums would bleed like when I would brush my teeth. And so I was just so gone, and I would look in the mirror and my teeth are bleeding and I just see a demon. Like, it's not even me anymore. And I think that's when it started to get really scary and really real for me.
Did you at that time, question or even think like I might be an alcoholic? Or did you know you were an alcoholic?
Denial.
Full denial.
I was a party girl. I just like to have fun. If I'm blacking out, I didn't eat. I didn't sleep last night. There's always a reason beyond what it actually was.
And I only want to say this because I'm sure there's people out there that listen to this podcast that are, party girls still.
Mhm.
But the truth of the matter is that if you wake up in the morning and before you get dressed, you need a drink, you might want to really look at that.
Yes.
You might want to really look at the denial factor. If you're even like not wondering, you should start wondering, I might have a problem.
100%. And yeah, it just didn't click in my head at all.
And you know what though? I also get that because there's also the fact that like, there's the other part of the stigma of what an alcoholic looks like. Mm-hmm. And an alcoholic looks like the person that's homeless drinking out of a brown paper bag.
That's outside of my apartment.
That's outside.
In downtown.
Yeah. They don't have a house. Mm-hmm. They don't have an apartment. They don't have a home, a job.
Yep.
That's a real I'm not an alcoholic. I still have a job.
Yep.
I have a home.
It's hanging by a thread, but I got it.
Yep.
It's a lot of things. That's definitely how I felt too. Like I didn't look it. I didn't feel it. Or in my head, I didn't look it. And so then this led to, so I'm working and I had what I didn't realize at the time was my first withdrawal seizure. It happened behind the bar. I just remember the place that I was working, it was really dark and I just kind of felt like I short-circuited and I got really weak and I couldn't stand. And so like that night I just went to sit down, told my boss that I just didn't eat that day, that, all the excuses. And she knew that I drank. Everyone knew that, but no one ever, I feel like people knew that it was a problem, but again, I was still managing it to some capacity. So after that happened, I just I didn't get like any kind of medical attention that day, just ended up going home. And I ended up like kind of coming to an agreement that I just wasn't going to work there anymore, that it just wasn't good for where I was at in life at that moment. Not too long after that is when I had my second withdrawal seizure, and this was the serious one. This was after, it couldn't have been more than like an hour or two without drinking. And because my body was used to such a high capacity and level of alcohol, if there was a short period of time where I didn't have it, and my body was just shutting down. Like I couldn't eat at this point really. The drinking had just destroyed my stomach lining. I remember a lot of mornings that I was hungover and, reaching for the alcohol. I should have been, trying to eat, but I would order pho to be delivered because it was the only thing that I could manage to get the broth down I couldn't even get to the store to get, soup, anything. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of where I was at with that. So it was like I hadn't eaten, my body's shutting down. I had met up with my boyfriend at the time and friends, and we were walking into a bar. And as soon as I walked through the doors, that's when I went black. And I just like, it just feels like your whole top half of your body, you just lose that control. It really feels like you short circuit and then it just goes black. And I woke up on the floor of that place, and luckily someone caught my head, and they said later, the doctors told me that was the only thing that kept me from having any kind of, major damage, brain damage, anything, was that they reacted that quickly to catch it. Mm. And so I barely remember being on the stretcher that night, going to the hospital. They put me on gabapentin and I forget the other medication. It's supposed to turn off the receptors in your brain so that you don't want to drink. I remember that had happened. Of course, they're going to give me all the suggestions of finding a meeting or something, and it still can't accept that I'm an alcoholic.
Was it Withdrawal?
I think so. Yeah, that does sound.
There's another name for it too. I'll come up with it because it's actually it's the same one that they use for opiates. Attaches to the same receptor, and it reduces the cravings. And also, if you do drink on it, it takes a lot more alcohol for you to get drunk, which people try to overdo it as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So they had me on that.
Naltrexone.
That sounds more.
Does that sound?
Yes.
Well, Vyvanse is naltrexone in the injection form. Is actually.
I was
going to
say. I remember the injection. Mine was still a
the
pill form.
Yeah, it should be. Probably was called naltrexone.
Yeah, that sounds right. So I'm on this. So a couple days into this, I end up having the DTs, and I wake up in my apartment, and it's so crazy because I feel like I remember everything that I saw so vividly because I wasn't technically under the influence, but I was in psychosis.
Yeah.
And I wake up, I'm still in that apartment in downtown, and there's just like entities all over my apartment. And I swear at one point, this is how it ties back into the Cecil, is I swear the demons were just like funneling in through the wall. Like it was so scary. And I just remember just closing my eyes and I was like, it's not real. You know, this isn't really happening. And I had security at that building. So I just take my dog, I go downstairs. I'm like, I can't be alone. I don't know what to do. My ex was at work. He was the only person that I was trying to get a hold of, but I'm looking at my phone and it was like when you do psychedelics and everything's like all twisted around. And so I'm like, I can't use my phone. I can't call it. I don't know what to do. So I go down to my security and he was so nice. And I just probably sound like absolute batshit crazy, but I'm like, there's demons in my apartment. I need you to call me an Uber to this place. I need to get to here so I can get to my safe place. And that was where I feel like that was my first experience with like that spiritual warfare of like, and it later turned into a lot of nightmares of, you know, demons trying to pull me back in. Cause the further you get from your addiction, they're like, you're not going anywhere. And like, I would have dreams about that all the time of just trying to pull me back and reel me back in. And that's what I felt that night. And I end up, the place that I was going, it was at a hotel because he worked in bars that were there. And I walk into the hotel and I'm trying to explain, I'm seeing things all over the lobby in there. I'm trying to explain to them, I'm like, my boyfriend works in these bars. Like, I just need you to get him. This is his name. And they think I'm on drugs. And they, you know, ask me to leave. And I don't blame them. And so I'm standing outside and I swear, I don't remember what this person looked like. But I remember they could see that I was clearly going through something. And they're like, there's a church across the street. Like, you know, it's nighttime, and it's closed. But maybe if you go stand over there, like, you'll feel better. And something told me to just go stand outside of that church. And I go and I sit on the steps because I'm just like, I don't know what to do right now. Like, I'm freaking out and I'm still seeing everything. And as soon as I sit down, this like peace just comes over me. Everything that I'm seeing goes away. And it was just like, okay, like kind of take a deep breath. Like, I always believed in God, but it definitely, you know, your addiction pulls you away from that. And that was my first experience back into like feeling that presence over me. And so after that, I ended up I went to a meeting in that time, didn't stand up when they asked, you know, if you have less than 30 days, if you're an alcoholic, still couldn't admit it. Get through 30 days and you know, I made it a month. I took a nice break. I'm going to drink again. And this was the beginning. This was like in September of 23. And so for about a month and a half, I just spiraled the drain. And that's so I'm still drinking on the medications at that time. Still I just completely lost control of my life. And October 29th, I had my last seizure. So I ended up having 3 total. They say that one was alcohol-induced. So because of the medication, I wasn't realizing how drunk I was actually getting. So I was drinking even more than what I normally was. And I'm alone in that apartment. I call my mom. I tell her, you know, something's wrong. I have no clothes on. I'm on my concrete floor. I'm all bruised up. I had ended up breaking my toe that night because when I had the seizure, I fell. And I'm just laying there, hopeless. And call my mom, say, I need you to call 911. I don't know what to do. I only remember bits and pieces of this. And I fought it until like addiction is just such a wild thing. You need help, and like you're literally dying. And even when I could hear the firefighters at my door, I wouldn't let them in. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. I don't need help. And my mom is screaming at them like, no, the person in this apartment needs, attention. And so I guess I finally let them in. I go to the hospital, wake up the next day, and my mom's sitting there by my bed. And that feeling in that moment, it was like, I know that this is a problem now. I see it, and I never want to feel this way, and I never want to make her feel that way ever again. And that was where I was like, okay, I don't know what to do. I don't know anything about treatment. You hear of celebrities going to rehab. I'm like, I don't know anything about this, but I know I got to figure it out. So didn't have any fancy insurance. I had my good old Medi-Cal and found Tarzana treatment in Long Beach. And that was like 12 days. So my sobriety date is October 30th of 2023. Took about 12 days for me to get into treatment. And, I walk in, and as soon as I walk in and we're getting checked in, I'm already nervous because, I know what's coming. And this guy with this blanket over his head just busts through the door, and like the aides are chasing him. And my mom looks at me and she's like, are you sure you want me to leave you here? And I was like, not really, but I mean, we got to do it. And so in my head, I was like, okay, I'm not court ordered. I'm just going to stay 30 days. And I, despite what the drugs and alcohol made me, I am, this soft person and a good girl. And like, I've always been that. And I don't like getting in trouble. I don't like, arguing or fighting or anything. And so I feel like taking all that out of my system, I retracted back to that person where I was like, okay, I'm going to do exactly like what they tell me to. I'm not going to act up. I'm not going to, I'm just going to be here and do what I need to do. And started to I feel like I dove into the work. That was the first time I'd ever seen a therapist, and kind of dove into, my parents' divorce. My grandparents that I had grown up with, they had both passed away in this time. Despite my drinking, I was able to be by their side, and I am so grateful for that is not something that I, hold on to, because that could have went so much worse. And just talking to her and realizing, where this happened. I thought that the alcoholism came from bartending and from being around it, but of course it's so much deeper than that. And so I started to, understand a little bit more of what I was going through. And those 30 days hit, and I was like, I'm not ready to leave. Like, I can't. I don't ever want to come back here again. It's a 60-day program. I'm just going to suck it up and do it. And, we would have panels come in and speak. And there was a woman one night, and as soon as I heard my name or heard her name, it was my grandmother's name. And that's not a common name at all, and as soon as I heard it and we locked eyes, I was like, that was my grandma, and I had felt my grandparents in this whole process too. Like when I was still having the nightmares, I had a Bible that was my grandpa's, and it had a picture of my grandparents that I kept in it. And I was having all these nightmares and all this, and one night it just sparked in my head. I was like, where's that Bible? Like, I'm just going to get that. And as soon as I started sleeping with it in my bed and with that picture, no more nightmares ever. Like, so that was something that I kept really close to me, and I knew that they were looking out for me, because I feel like I was their girl, and when they passed away and probably got up to heaven and looked down, they're like, what the hell are you doing? This is not the life that we have for you. So I feel like that's when they kind of stepped in and, helped me along that path. But yeah, as soon as I heard her name, I was like, okay, she became my mentor and someone that, I was able to talk to when I got out of treatment, and kind of just steered me in the right direction of where to go and what to do with this thing. And let's see. Whew, okay.
You're doing great. Yeah. It's a journey.
Got through all the pretty rough stuff. So it comes back down to like my faith. too. I'd always believed in God. Had this, it's crazy because I would look at like memories that would pop up on my Facebook or things, and like captions of things that I would post, and it's like Bible verses or like, you know, things that I'm posting. I had Luke 6:21 tattooed on me when my grandpa was passing away, because it's blessed are you who weep now, for you shall laugh. And at that time I equated it to, he was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and I would see him go from like laughing and happy one day, and then, you know, in this dark place and dying the next. And so I'd had that verse on me already. And I realized as I got into recovery how much that relates to my life now too. You know, it's that light at the end of the tunnel, basically. It's, you know, you're going to go through all these rough things, but there is a light. There is, you know, something, your higher power that's going to pull you out of this. You just have to let them. And I went back to that church that I had went in front of, because I'd ended up, as soon as I got sober, I moved into an apartment in Koreatown, and it was right down the street from there. So I ended up in that same little area of where the hotel was and the church. And so one day I was like, I feel like I need to go check this church out, because I grew up kind of going to church, but I don't like the religion aspect of it, or like the mega church feel. So it just was never my thing. And as soon as I walked into the doors here, I was like, this is it. Shout out to Oasis LA. They are amazing. And it took away all of that like stuffiness that you feel in a church. And I started to feel that relationship with Jesus and God start to just really build back up. And I got a job working in fitness, which was it was so random how it even came about, but I just knew I needed to get back into something. And, you know, starting over when you get sober is one of the hardest, most just grounding things. You're like, especially because I felt like I had that career going, and I'm getting sober at 32. And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, 32, I'm so old. Like, how am I going to start over now? And ended up finding a gym that was right around the corner from the house there in Koreatown, and it was called Sanctuary Fitness. And everyone that I worked with they were, you know, in their faith. We ended up going to church together. Like, it was such a good recovery job. And it got me in a place of, I'm like, all right, I'm waking up at the time I used to go to bed. Like, this is crazy. But it helped with my mental and physical and got me back into that. And I started kind of working out in treatment, but I highly recommend that. Like, get your body moving again. It takes away those thoughts in your head. It gives you that, you know, that dopamine that you're kind of missing from everything. And I really credit that with helping me get back to a good place. And yeah, I just continued with that. I dove into that shadow work that no one wants to do. But I knew from the beginning, again, it was the same as when I walked into treatment. I'm like, I don't want to do this, but I know I have to, and I'm going to do it because I never want to have to repeat this.
Yeah.
So, you know, taking an inventory of yourself is one of the hardest things, and admitting that you might have been the problem and you play a role in those things. It's tough, but it's necessary, and you have to walk back through all that stuff to get out of it. And you have to feel it raw and not drowning it, you know, with substance. And I feel like I, you know, did all of that. I made some apologies and amended relationships in my life. I wouldn't say that drinking really harmed. I didn't have too many relationships that got skewed with my drinking. But what it did is that relationship with my dad that had been strained since I was 18, me being able to have a conversation with him sober as an adult, as having gone through my own, you know, adult relationship and seeing it for what it was, and seeing that, you know, he wanted to be happy, and he was just trying to get that happiness. And I had experienced that same thing. Me getting sober amended that relationship, which may have never been touched on if I didn't get sober. And that is something that is so, so special to me. I just saw him last week. Like, the last time I was here, I left for a road trip that night, and we went to Dallas, and I spent time with my dad, and it was just so beautiful. It makes me emotional. It just makes me really happy that I can show him, this sober side of me, that I hated what had happened to us, and how, it probably didn't get fixed sooner because I was drinking and because I was out, and that was all consuming, and that was my life. And he did try to fix things in that time, and I just wasn't open to it. And that's just one of the gifts of recovery, is getting to have these relationships back. I can show up, as the person that I want to be to my mom, and only hope that, she's proud of me now. Okay.
We like crying around.
Yeah,
just so
we
you
do.
know.
Oh, I'm a big crier. So.
Yeah.
Right now, my grandma she's been in and out of the hospital and rehabilitation centers trying to get better. And I am able to be present, and I had, time to be able to spend with her, and to know that I won't have, when eventually that time comes, that I don't have any regrets of not being able to be with her during this time. It's such a gift, which circles back to bad things still happen in sobriety.
Yeah.
It's, my first year I dealt with, so I went back to that relationship that I was in. When I got a treatment, it presented itself as, again, a safety net and almost like a savior kind of thing. And once I started to see, I was like, holy shit, this is what I've been, that's why I've been drinking myself to sleep every night, and like I don't blame that relationship for making me an alcoholic, but it contributed to it. And it was someone that I used with. And it's like, so what in my mind would think that this is something good for me in sobriety? And I stayed in that for a few months of my first year. And one day it just clicked in my head. I was like, I have to leave. I have to move out of this apartment. I have to go today, or else I'm not going to go. And my friend had a place for me in downtown, again, in a different area of downtown, but I'd swore that I was never going back down there. And so that was the first ironic thing. I was like, okay, I'm back in downtown, but my friend is just an angel. And I knew that that would be a place that I would heal. And I moved in with her, and it just happened to be right across the street from my ex's work. And not too long after that, or before I moved over there, I had a friend that was killed in downtown, and it happened on the street over from that apartment. So it was like that happened on one street. The apartment I moved into is in the middle, and then my ex lives on or works on the other side. And so it was just I would just stand there sometimes, and I'm like, God, is this like exposure therapy? Like, I'm in this apartment with this person that is so healing and so good for me, but it's like I look out and I see this beautiful view, but then I have these two things on the side of me that remind me of like that, hurt and pain and all this. And it started to get to the point where once I got past it, I was like, no, this is making me stronger. Like, this is what I need. I need to be reminded of these things and remind myself that I got through this without drowning it out. And as long as I can process these feelings, that's the only way I'm going to be able to move on with my life after this. And so it was like, that was, the first two things in the first year right there. And with my friends too, I just remember seeing, the people that we knew drown it out and drink through it and all this. And he was sober. And one of the last times I saw him was not too long after I got sober, before he passed. And I just remember he looked at me and he was like, Ash, I'm so proud of you. And to have that to at least hold on to from that experience, that was really special to me too. But yeah, just, you learn to deal with life things in a totally different way. And I had always, again, maintained a job in my drinking. So when I got laid off in sobriety, I was like, okay, this isn't right. Like, how am I sober and I'm doing all the right things and I don't have a job? Like, this makes no sense. And this was just recent. So I was working for that same company with the gym, had worked at some of their other concepts, and I had moved around. And I was getting to the point of like, okay, I think I need to get out of LA. Like, it's not a geographical at this point. I've sat here and faced my demons and, you know, the things that bother me, but this just isn't for me anymore. And I ended up meeting my current boyfriend through a friend and all sober friends. And, you know, as that started to progress and work ended up having a spot for me down here in Irvine. And I was like, I feel like this is, you know, things are starting to fall into place now. And I felt ready because I had taken that time and I had done that work and I had let myself feel all the things about my relationship and about, you know, the drinking and everything that I went through that. And, you know, you're never really fully ready for anything. But at that point I was like, okay, you know, God's answering these prayers and this is something, you know, I feel like I'm in a good place with everything right now. And it felt good to get out of, my big thing too is just surrender. And it's so hard. And it's a word that's floated around and it's like, just just surrender. But you're really going in with blind faith with these things. And that started to get a little bit easier in my life as I would start to see things, you know, come to fruition. And this gets me current to October. So I end up moving down here, transfer with the same company I'm working for. I get a car. I haven't had a car since stolen car. So it was a good 7 years. I didn't have one.
Oh,
and
wow.
I think that that's really what saved me from the DUIs too. And that was another blessing in disguise, was that I never ended up having another car. So moved down here, got the car, and then beginning of November last month, I get laid off. Oh. And I was just like, okay, you know, this, you know, it sucks and I'm going to grieve it. And I'm going to grieve a job that really helped me get out of that dark place and get me back on my feet in sobriety. But it got me out of LA. I have a car now, you know, let me put my big girl pants on and figure this out and just take it for what it is. And in that time, I was able to take the trip to see my dad. I was a little worried about getting the time off. And it's like, oh, well, now you have all this free time. So I was able to do that, able to show up for my grandma. And I've had all this free time to go out to Riverside and spend time with her. And she gets to see me sober and in a good place in my life. And with a partner that I'm proud of and see a future with, that I never saw with someone that I was with for all those years. And it's just... And that's a whole other thing in itself too. It's when you get into a healthy relationship, that shit is scary because you're not used to that. Your brain is so wired to chaos and, you know, bracing for impact when you have those, when they're coming home or having difficult conversations. And I'm just so grateful to have someone that does not make me feel that way at all. Not even, you know, bone in his body has that in him. And it's because he's sober too. Mm-hmm. And he's done the work that he needs to do. And yeah, that's kind of where I've gotten to today. I just got a new job the other day.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got that time. I knew it was hard in the beginning because I was like, okay, this is just not, you know, it's right before the holidays. I'm getting laid off. This sucks. Just got this car. I have a payment now. Mm-hmm. But I know better. And I know God. And I know that he always has my back. And he has not proved me, you know, has not shown me anything otherwise since. And it's because, you know, it stems back to I always had him in me. He was always hovering. He was just waiting for me to finally let him back in. And that night at the church, when I felt that peace, I feel like that's when I finally cracked that door open. And he knew that I needed some, you know, time to really let him in to do the work. But yeah, I get it. And I knew to just wake up every day and, you know, I take my dog out and I'm here in Orange County and I'm like, there's no sirens. Where's all the yelling? Where's the, you know, screaming? And it's just so quiet and peaceful. And I can take her out every morning and I just look up and thank him for my sobriety and for another day, and to just let me do his will. And that's, I feel like if it's hard to get to that point when you just are so low, but that's what God waits for too, is for you to finally, it's not hitting a bottom, it's when you stop digging. And I feel like that's when you have no other choice, and he will put you in that place so that you have nowhere else to turn. And then it's just kind of like, you can finally breathe. And it's not easy, and it's sobriety is something you have to maintain every day. You have to choose it every day. There's certain things that you have to do to maintain that. But I am so grateful and blessed that obsession is removed. I do not wake up ever looking for that Trader Joe's rum or that wine. And that is a miracle in itself, to not even be able to go 2 hours without having a seizure. And now I just passed 2 years. And it's amazing. And yeah, that is kind of where I'm at right now.
It's beautiful.
Welcome to the hood. Welcome to the South Orange County hood.
Thank
All I
you.
gotta say, I live downtown, and ain't nothing like living in South County. That's for damn sure.
No.
I mean,
I ain't ever going back.
even Emily's down here now. She's in the hood now. Like, this is for me. This is like the most beautiful
I love
in the world.
Yeah.
There's
I really
nowhere
do.
else I want to be.
And I lived all over LA.
LA is
And especially
not.
now, you lived in like current status of like 2023. Fuck no.
Yeah.
Like I rolled by my old spot. I lived off of Sunset and Vine.
Mm-hmm.
So at one point in time, that shit was brand new. Little nice apartments right there.
Yeah.
You couldn't pay me to live there now.
Nope.
Which is sad.
Nope.
It's sad. And same with downtown. I live downtown, and there was a time when like all those little high rises were getting built up.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Historic building, the lofts, like that loft.
The lofts.
It was gorgeous. It just so
Sad.
much darkness.
So much. So you came to the sunshine.
Yes. And LA is still close enough if I want to go.
Yeah, if you want to go dabble,
There's like lots of good stuff to do in LA.
potentially get shot.
Yeah.
I mean, not too, but
I'm so terrible. I don't have any ill.
I
towards
don't
LA.
really ever.
LA did me good. Did me dirty too, though.
Mm-hmm.
LA's never.
I did
done
myself
anything.
dirty.
Yeah,
what
there
I'm
you
talking about.
LA's never done anything for me except the only thing I really do is I'll go to a Laker game every once in a while.
Yeah, that's true.
That's downtown.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm such a bitch to get in there.
It really is.
It really.
Yeah.
That's
we
fun.
we go every year for my birthday, so I think we're going on January 9th. Didn't you go with me like a couple years ago?
I did.
With your ex-husband
Thank you.
Oh, just
For
gotta
that
throw that in
memory.
there.
for that memory. We took like a party.
It
bus
was.
or
It was
something.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was a good time.
pretty dope.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. I mean, I still go to that church
Sure.
once in a while.
I know, it's a great church.
Yeah,
Big.
I'm on the baptism team.
Oh wow, good for you.
Because I did get baptized last year on December 1st.
Awesome.
And I feel like that was just a natural step in what I was feeling and already going through. And they had reached out and asked if that was something I wanted to be a part of. And that is such a special thing. I cry every single time. I'm like, are you sure you want me to help out with this? Because I can't even let them get but it's really, really special to me to get to be a part of that. And, eventually I want to find somewhere that I feel that down here, but I just know that worked for me. And I do enjoy still going back for that. But
Yeah.
Lord,
All the ladies go to Saddleback.
Have you tried Saddleback
I
in
haven't
Lake
yet.
Forest?
I know
Give
you.
it a
I know.
shot.
I heard what you said in your story about the mega
Oasis
church.
is hella big too, though. So like,
Is
it's
that
not-
where you go, Oasis?
yeah,
Which is
which
for
is like a
whatever
celebrity-driven church.
For whatever reason, I don't feel the mega church vibe when I go to Saddleback. No.
okay, good.
It feels really like homey.
Even though it is like the Lake
I mean,
Forest one will probably overwhelm you because the campus alone is like
But the campus is
breathtaking.
beautiful though.
Yeah.
It's not like it's like open though. It's not like
Yeah,
those
you're
mega
right.
churches where you walk in
Yeah.
and it's just gaudy
Mm-hmm.
and big and they're not, and I haven't been since Rick's been gone or retired, but I hear the new guy,
Pastor Andy
Andy,
and Stacy, his wife.
Ooh, okay.
are bomb, and they're so they bring a brand new fresh vibe
They really do.
to the whole church, and they have like cool stuff for like teens, and I don't know, I just love it. That's where I got baptized I've been baptized twice, but I needed to get I need to get rebaptized because I had ruined the first one.
Can you? So I was baptized Catholic, right? So how does that work? I need to ask Pastor.
You
Andy
just
or
go.
Stacy.
No, yeah, you need you need to get baptized.
But do I?
Yeah.
Because I still enjoy going to Catholic church.
Doesn't mean you can't go to Catholic church.
Can I still take communion at Catholic church?
You can do whatever you want.
Okay, I accidentally did that because I went to a Catholic service.
They won't let you though. Well, you're not.
Wait, what?
I went to, and in my head I was like, okay, well I take communion at my church.
Yeah.
And I guess I wasn't supposed to.
Oh
do
wait,
Yeah.
at Catholic. So you didn't do your first communion or anything at a Catholic church,
Mm-mm.
but you took the
She
the
went one
communion?
time because they had it.
She just put it in my mouth. I was
Yeah.
like, okay.
So, okay, this is my take on this. I guess in the Catholic Church, you're not supposed to. You have to go to you have to have your first communion
Yes.
and do this whole shebang. But if you get down to the nitty gritty, how my Jesus is, he don't give a fuck. He's going to break bread with whoever wants to have some bread.
Mhm.
And if you wanted to, and if you felt like, oh, looks like I'm having some bread, Jesus wouldn't take it away from you because you didn't, make a first communion? Rules. Get out of here.
I said, Lord, my heart was in the right place. I'm sorry.
Exactly. But you know what though? That's in scripture. That's in the Bible.
Mhm.
He knows your heart. That's the
Mhm.
thing. Is like, who are we as humans to judge somebody else because we can't see their heart?
Yeah.
So you don't know their intentions. So it goes right in there. Where that's why church and me, I don't know, man. Church and me I have a hard time with.
Well, I
still have a hard time.
What I find best is to read the scripture yourself.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Interpret it how you interpret it. Have the nice, loving relationship
Mhm.
with God, and understand Him however you want to understand Him. Connect your heart to Him,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really the essence of it all, right?
Yeah.
And anything
Exactly.
anything beyond that becomes interpreted. So, like, I mean, I like going and enjoying a good sermon because there's like teaching, because there's teachings in that,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they'll know stuff that I don't know. Even though like I grew up in
Cuckoo Chris.
in religion, but I mean, like, it's just
For
been
Cocoa
like
Puffs.
so
That'll do it.
we studied it, and and I don't like the church that I grew up in. Just I do, and I have mad respect for them and everything. There's really nothing wrong with them. They're not like cuckoo or crazy people. They're just very
No,
conservative.
I don't mean it like that.
Yeah.
And
there's good people.
but the thing is
that come
that
from-
they use the scare tactic, and I don't believe that
yeah.
Jesus scared anybody.
No.
He wasn't out like there's no there. I mean, he was out hanging out with us when we were at our sickest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's who he was preaching to the most.
Yes.
Yeah, he also would go to the to the Jewish temples, and he would talk to them as well, but it was mostly like he would go because they weren't doing things right,
Mm-hmm.
and it was all about them. And what about and they were excluding what they called the Gentiles, right?
Yeah.
Because they were no good. But Jesus went out and preached to the Gentiles, and now since he came, we all can go.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And in the original law, it was like if you weren't part of the what do they call them? I forget what they call the Jewish people in the Bible. There's the anyways,
Who?
the Jews.
Oh.
They actually have they're called something. They have the Gentiles.
I
and
keep thinking about the Pharisees.
Yeah.
The Pharisees.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's what popped in my head too.
Pharisees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's why. Yeah. Church can be. I find God everywhere.
He's
100%.
not just
He is
Sunday.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, the truth
not just on
is
Sunday.
Yep.
he's only right here, right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only place that God lives.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't live in the past, and he doesn't live in the future. So if you really want to get in touch with God, you need to come to this very present moment.
Yep.
You know, and that's what I preach for people, because like a lot of us spend a lot of time in anxiety because we're so worried that we're not gonna get what we want in the future.
Depression,
and then we're like sad or whatever. Or I mean, how terrible is it to say that? That's it. That's the truth. And depression comes from past. Anxiety comes from fear of the future. But how sad is that to live in right now? And your thought is like, you know, the good times already passed. Or, I mean, not as in how I see life. I see life like the good times are right ahead, you know, or they're right here, right now, no matter what.
Yeah.
Because like the truth is we had a great podcast yesterday, and the guy was talking about, you know, God's will, right? And it's like, wherever God wants me, that's where I'll be.
What is for me will not pass me.
Because that's the most beautiful and most freeing and most loving place I could possibly be. With no fear, no anxiety, no worries.
Yep. And that's what happens when you have in your heart is no matter what goes wrong, I have this peace at the end of the day that I don't get anxiety anymore. And, it's not to say like, oh, everything's fine and just smile all the time. Like you're going to still have those feelings of maybe a little unease or just discomfort, but it's just because it's unknown. And but you have to just have that faith. That blind faith.
Blind faith. It's the most important thing. And like God has never not shown up for me. He doesn't always show up for me when I want him to at that exact moment. But now it's like, yeah, and I say this a lot too, and I've been saying it a lot lately, because he for sure will show up 110%. He will show up at 11:59 and 59 seconds. He will show up. That you can guarantee that.
Yep.
So if you can like get to the point where you're like, he will show up at that time, at minimum. He shows up often at other times, but sometimes it's like, and I don't know about like all the testing and all of that stuff. Whatever it is, for me, it's like he's always shown up right on time, and I should know that. So my faith should be pretty freaking big, and I really shouldn't have to worry about it. I still do. Don't get me wrong.
Of course, you're human.
But I know he's going to show up. I still have anxiety about him, like, but when is 11:59 and 59 seconds? Because I'm waiting for that time.
Now I'm watching the clock. Now it's ticking away.
Yeah.
No, even the other day when I went for my job interview, I just bought these shoes and they weren't super cheap. I'd only worn them a couple times. I get out of the car. I'm feeling good. It's already hard enough for me to go into interviews. I feel good, get out of the car, and the shoe breaks. And I'm like, okay, what is that about? And my very first like split second instinct, I'm like, I'm going home. I can't walk. They're gonna be like, who is this beat girl with this broken shoe coming in here?
What part of the shoe broke?
Did she
Strap
get
on the back?
Did she get those Louis Vuittons at what's that place at?
Santee Alley?
That place too.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the online store that
right.
Donna always goes to.
Depop?
No.
Temu?
No.
What's the other one, Emily?
Sheen?
It's right on the tip of mine too.
Fashion Nova?
No. It's where you buy fake shit online.
Oh, I thought you were just naming off all the big.
Alibaba. I don't know if it's Alibaba. I think it might be something else. Yeah, Alibaba is where you go to get like other stuff from China. Bad stuff from China.
No, they were H&M. So it's not the best, but not the worst. And I'd only worn them a couple times. So I'm like, why are these breaking right now? And so I just tucked the strap in, shoved my foot in, and I was like, okay, luckily I had slacks on. So it was covering the back. Yeah.
Perfect.
Something told me, God told me I was going to wear a dress. I was like, no, I'm going to wear slacks.
Smart.
Yes.
If you were wearing a dress, that'd be rough.
Listen to your gut always.
Yeah. That'd be rough to cover.
Go with the gut.
In
Always
every
go with the gut.
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
even down to this.
Don't go with your head. Your head
No.
is always wrong, man.
Head
If your head's
wrong.
heavy like mine, like it's like first thought, nope, that's a
Nope.
definite no.
Men's heads are always wrong.
Yeah,
Second
Either
thought,
one.
second thought questionable. Well, our first thought is always from the wrong head.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the problem. That.
But yeah, I was just like, God, okay, please just give me this
Yeah.
interview. Did great in the interview, got the job, and I told my friend, she was like, that was just maybe God keeping you on your toes, literally, figuratively, like, don't get comfortable. Like, just
Might have even
People-
taken some anxiety away. Now you're thinking about the strap
Now
on
think
your
about
shoe.
the
Yeah. And not thinking about like, oh God,
What am I
gonna
gonna say? How am I gonna
Just-
sell myself here?
Yeah.
being able to handle that pressure and not coming in right away and being like, oh, I'm doing great, but my shoe broke. Like, just approaching, situations in a different light.
Yeah.
And, yeah. And maybe God was getting a little laugh out of that. I don't know.
sure.
But
Did you get a job in this area?
yeah,
Nice.
not too far. Mission Via Hill.
Oh, nice.
So
Good for you.
yeah, I'm
Awesome.
excited.
Yeah.
Just working my way back up. That's the beauty of sobriety, is there's just so much more ahead.
Sure.
Like you said, the good times are not behind you. Maybe you had some fun. Not everything in my drinking was bad.
Of course.
I have those fun stories. I had it because it's that progression. It's the fun with problems, and then just problems. In that fun phase, sure,
Of course.
lots of great times. But yeah, at the end of the day, once it, it has to, that's how it lures you in, and that's how it gets you. And that's how it's like, it's going to turn on you one day.
Mm-hmm.
And just, you pray that you can get help and be able to ask for help. Because I know
That's a big thing.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's so much stigma behind just having this disease. It doesn't matter if it's alcoholism or drug addiction. There's just stigma.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you fix it yourself?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like regular people can't fix their problems by themselves without the substance. And the truth is the substance isn't even our problem.
Mm-hmm.
We had some kind of problems before we ever took the
Yeah.
substance.
Well, that was my solution.
It was
Exactly.
it's a like you said, it's a solution that works for a minute. Because there's
That's how
a
it gets ya.
Yeah.
it really does, man.
I
It's the big lie
know,
of
it's
it.
crazy.
And for me, it's like that's the devil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Because
agree.
that's how that's what the devil does. He deceives us. He lies to us, and thankfully, God didn't want you dead. Thankfully,
Yeah.
He wanted something different for your life.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever the stuff still holds is and I think it's important of you coming on here and telling your story, because every time a guest tells their story on our podcast, somebody's life is saved.
Mm-hmm.
And at best, that's what we hope for. It's oftentimes more than that. I mean, our DMs blow up with just people saying, I don't drink anymore.
Or I stayed sober today.
Yes.
Listen,
That-
binge watching the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Like what?
Yeah. Just having that somewhere to find that hope and to, distract from
And to realize
wanting
like
to use.
you're not alone. Like you
Yes.
don't feel like you're this person that shouldn't exist, because I feel like every single one of us at one point in time in our disease thinks like that we're like the only one, we shouldn't be here anymore, or whatever, those
Yeah.
like terrible thoughts seep through our brains.
Yeah.
Where it's like, at least tuning in, binge watching or something, you're gonna hear bits and pieces of your story no matter what. No matter what. I don't care where you're from, who you are. If you tune into each of our podcasts, no matter which one you turn on, you will hear at least one sentence that you can relate to if you have the problem.
If
Yes.
if you have an
Yes.
open mind too, right? Like, and you're not stuck in this crazy ass denial of like,
That's true too.
the truth is like if you're
Yeah, that's
hurting,
true.
we know what you feel like.
Yeah.
Like, before when I asked you if you had considered, that maybe you were an alcoholic, and you said, no, I was in denial. But the truth is that I could relate to the pain that you were feeling and that darkness that you were feeling, because I've been in that exact same emotional and mental and physical state,
Yeah.
of denial even.
Yeah, definitely.
And the hopelessness, it's like a hopelessness.
Mm-hmm.
Since it's just insanity. and we wake up and do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And choose it over everything in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
It literally is insanity. And that's what my intent is with this, with sharing my story and getting that, taking that power back over the things
100%.
that had me, is to bring that awareness, to have someone hear, something that they need from it. Also, it's something that I've wanted to figure. I mean, if it's God's will for me to do something in the future with this, but just bringing awareness to the bar industry and how smoothed over this is and how accepted it is. And a lot of people struggle.
A lot.
And you just brush it off as normal, and that's part of your job. Or like, I'll just go in and drink it away, and I'll be around all my friends and drinking and happy. And like, it really keeps you in that cycle. And I just don't, I'm curious how many, I meet people that have gotten sober after working in the industry, but I'm just curious how many people do feel like they have an outlet or a way to reach for help, or just bringing more attention to that.
Yeah.
Because it's just too normalized and it's scary.
For sure.
And also, like, the other part about all of this is I want people to know what addiction and alcoholism looks like, because whatever you think it looks like the three of us sitting at this table, and we don't look like what I would portray as an addict or an alcoholic, especially not today.
Yeah.
I look like your neighbor, your coworker, and so do you both. Natalie looks like, with her pink hair, she looks a little
circus.
No, you rock it. I'm kidding. No, I would get told.
I was thinking celebrity, but
Hey, same.
No, I would get told that in treatment. You don't look like an addict. What are you doing here?
Which is so funny because it's like, really,
Well, because
what
you-
would an addict look like?
because you did go to a Medi-Cal place.
I know.
Okay. We can.
We'll call a spade a spade. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't look like the typical person that goes to the Medi-Cal facility, but still, again, that doesn't matter either. That's exactly where you were. You are that. That's what you were. So,
Why? Because I threw on a little makeup each day just to make myself feel
Totally
better.
Yeah.
Like, I had to. I said, you want to see inside my head? Because that'll show you right away
Yes,
that
for
I
sure.
belong here.
yeah.
definitely.
Well, we appreciate you coming
thank you
down
so
and
much.
being
Yes,
vulnerable.
thank you.
Yeah,
And being of service.
yeah.
This is for me a
What it's
service
about.
commitment.
Mm-hmm.
I think that our primary purpose as human beings is to be a maximum service to God and others. And we appreciate you coming and doing that.
Yeah,
agree
thank
more.
you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys. And it's an honor to, get to know both of you and your stories. And I love what you're doing here, and keep doing it.
Mm.
It's really awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
And it's
you.
helping save a lot of lives.
Yeah,
So,
thank you
guys.
so
Thank
much.
you.